met ons! investigate the delay in the lobbies on the assumption that he can get anywhere near them.
Take that.
Order! Order!
The ayes to the right, 242. The noes to the left, 391.
The ayes to the right, 242. The noes to the left, 391. So the noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock. Order. Point of order, the Prime Minister.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker, I profoundly regret the decision that this House has taken tonight. I continue to believe that by far the best outcome is that the United Kingdom leaves the European Union in an orderly fashion with a deal. And that the deal we've negotiated is the best and indeed the only deal available. But, Mr. Speaker, I would like to set out briefly how the government means to proceed. 2 weeks ago, I made a series of commitments from this dispatch box regarding the steps we would take in the event that this House rejected the deal on offer. I stand by those commitments in full. Therefore, tonight we will table a motion for debate tomorrow to test whether the House supports leaving the European Union without a deal on the 29th of March. The Leader of the House will shortly make an emergency business statement confirming the change to tomorrow's business. This is an issue of grave importance for the future of our country. Just like the referendum, there are strongly held and equally legitimate views on both sides. For that reason, I can confirm that this will be a free vote on this side of the House. I have personally struggled with this choice, as I'm sure many other honourable members will. I'm passionate about delivering the result of the referendum, but I equally passionately believe that the best way to do that is to leave in an orderly way with a deal. And I still believe that there is a majority in the House for that course of action. And I'm conscious also of my duties as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of the potential damage to the Union that leaving without a deal could do when one part of our country is without devolved governance. I can therefore confirm that the motion will read that this House declines to approve leaving the European Union without a withdrawal agreement and a framework on the future relationship on the 29th of March 2019, and notes that leaving without a deal remains the default in UK and EU law unless this House and the EU ratify an agreement. I will return to the House to open the debate tomorrow and to take interventions from honourable members, and to ensure the House is fully informed in making this historic decision. The Government will tomorrow publish information on essential policies which would need to be put in place if we were to leave without a deal. These will cover our approach to tariffs and to the Northern Ireland border, among other matters. If the House votes to leave without a deal on the 29th of March, it will be the policy of the Government to implement that decision. If the House declines to approve leaving without a deal on the 29th of March, the Government will, following that vote, bring forward a motion on Thursday on whether Parliament wants to seek an extension to Article 50. If the House votes for an extension, the Government will seek to agree that extension with the EU and bring forward the necessary legislation to change the exit date commensurate with that extension. But let me be clear. Voting against leaving without a deal and for an extension does not solve the problems we face. The EU will want to know what use we mean to make of such an extension. And this House will have to answer that question. Does it wish to revoke Article 50? Does it want to hold a second referendum? Does it want to leave with a deal but not this deal? These are unenviable choices. But thanks to the decision that the House has made this evening, they are choices that must now be faced.
Point of order, Mr. Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Government has been defeated again by an enormous majority, and they must now accept their deal, their proposal, the one the Prime Minister has put, is clearly dead and does not have the support of this House. And quite clearly, no deal must be taken off the table. We've said that before, and we'll say that again. But it does mean the House has got to come together with a proposal that could be negotiated. The Labour Party has put that proposal, and we will put that proposal again, because the dangers of what the Prime Minister is proposing are basically that she carries on threatening us all with the danger of no deal, the danger of that, knowing full well the damage that will do to the British economy. This party will put forward our proposals again, which are about a negotiated customs union, access to the market and protection of rights. Those are the ones we'll put forward. We believe there may well be a majority for them, but there will also be the potential of negotiating them. The Prime Minister has run down the clock, and the clock has been run out on her. Maybe it's time instead we had a general election and the people could choose who their government should be.
Point of order, Mr. Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a humiliating defeat for the government this evening, and this deal should not come back in any way, shape, form again. Mr. Speaker, people will once again be looking on at this Parliament and at this government in despair. The next few days are the opportunity finally to take some essential steps. Tomorrow, we have the opportunity to vote to block any attempt to leave the EU without a deal. And the Prime Minister must act as Prime Minister, not as the Tory party leader, and bring her party into line, stop the UK being dragged off a cliff and vote against a no-deal Brexit. As Prime Minister, it is the duty of the government to act in all our national interests, and that means ruling out no deal. And then we in the Scottish National Party will be prepared to engage in discussion with the government on securing an extension to Article 50 that is long enough to enable the issue to be put back to the people. This afternoon, the First Minister of Scotland told the Prime Minister that in the event that the deal was voted down again, we would engage constructively on sensible proposals. These proposals must include another EU referendum. Mr. Speaker, can you advise on what options are open to the House to bring these proposals forward swiftly in the interests of time? We have a responsibility to end the uncertainty for all our constituents and all our businesses.
Right honourable gentleman for his point of order, which I think was probably directed at a wider audience, but insofar as the right honourable gentleman asks me for advice, what I would say to him is I think that these matters can be explored in debate almost imminently. The Prime Minister has kindly announced what is to follow, and that will be elaborated upon by the Leader of the House in the supplementary or emergency business statement. The right honourable gentleman is well familiar with the opportunities that are available to him in the table office, and I have every expectation that colleagues who want to air propositions in the coming days will have the opportunity to do so. I don't think it is necessary for me to say anything further than that, but that seems to me to be manifest. Let's leave it there for now. Yes, I will come to the Right Honourable Lady, who may well have important matters to broach, not far distant from what the Right Honourable Gentleman has just raised. But let's just take the Leader of the Liberal Democrats. Point of order, Sir Vincent Cable.
With your vast knowledge of parliamentary precedent and history, can you identify a single case, say since the American War of Independence, in which a Prime Minister has twice been defeated and continues with the same policy?
Well, the government backbenchers very unkindly spoiled the Right Honourable Gentleman's punchline, as a consequence of which I didn't hear it.
I asked for a precedent where a Prime Minister had survived...
Order, Mr Ennis, calm yourself, young man. I want to hear what the Leader of the Liberal Democrat Party has to say. Order!
Humiliating defeats, and was not willing to change policy. Since these benches and others are willing to offer an olive branch to embrace policies she so far rejected, will she accept the offer of friendship to do so?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. As to the matter of precedence, it is usually unwise to assert that there is none for a particular circumstance unless you are absolutely certain, because most things have happened at one time or another, quite probably in my lifetime, and certainly in that of the Right Honourable Gentleman. Point of order, Yvette Cooper.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Businesses and public services and families urgently need some clarification about what will happen in just over 2 weeks' time. The reason that we had provided for the votes over the next couple of days was to ensure that there could be a clear vote in this House on no deal and a clear vote in this House on extending Article 50. The Prime Minister's proposal for a motion for tomorrow sounded unclear to me. Can he therefore confirm that that motion will be laid in sufficient time for MPs to be able to have time to table an amendment if necessary, to ensure that that vote can be clear-cut and there can be no misunderstanding or misinterpretation? And can he also confirm that if it is passed, that vote will go ahead on Thursday on the extending Article 50 and there will not be a new proposal instead to wait for the government to attempt to put its deal back a third time, given how comprehensively it was defeated tonight?
To the Right Honourable Lady for her point of order, and I will bring forward what I would have said after the business statement by the Leader of the House, and say it now instead in light of the concern that she's raised. To be fair, I thought that the Prime Minister's commitment about what would take place tomorrow and Thursday was clear. It was clear to me, but as to the detail of the motion, that's another matter. But in terms of the chronology of events, it was all very clear. But let me just say this. I hope it will be helpful to the House if I indicate, as I did in respect of today's proceedings when I addressed the House last night, if I indicate an advisory cut-off time of 10:30 on Wednesday morning for manuscript amendments to tomorrow's motion. My strong expectation, and I think I heard it, is that the motion for tomorrow, in accordance with normal practice, will be tabled tonight before the close of business, and there should be an opportunity for manuscript amendments up to 10:30 tomorrow. Amendments that reach the table office before the rise of the House tonight will appear, colleagues, on the order paper in the usual way. as those that were tabled last night before the close of business appeared on the order paper today in the usual way. The Table Office, whom, by the way, we thank for their prodigious endeavours at this difficult time, will arrange publication and distribution of a consolidated amendment list as soon as possible after 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday, including all the manuscript amendments. I will announce my selection of amendments in the usual way at the beginning of the debate. I hope that that is helpful both to the Right Honourable Lady and indeed, for that matter, to all colleagues. Yes, of course. Yeah, well, these are important matters, and although the Right Honourable Gentleman is a self-effacing fellow, he's an important man. Point of order, Hilary Benn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Further to the announcement you have just made about manuscript amendments for the motion that we will debate tomorrow, depending on the outcome of that vote, we will then come, as the Prime Minister has just made clear, to a motion on Thursday about seeking an extension to Article 50. Could you please clarify, depending on what time that motion is tabled tomorrow, which clearly can't be until we voted to reject leaving with no deal, what arrangements you intend to apply for Thursday to allow for manuscript amendments in the way that you have just set out for Wednesday?
The hours will be different because we start earlier on a Thursday, but I will apply the same logic and, I hope, sense of reasonableness and desire to accommodate colleagues. So I haven't come to a particular view about the precise deadline for Thursday now. It's something I'm happy to discuss with the Right Honourable Gentleman and other colleagues privately if they so wish, but I will have the same consideration in mind. The House's interest must be served, and I should seek to facilitate what members want. I hope that's helpful. Yes, a point of order, Mr Angus Brendan McNeill.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As Chair of the International Trade Committee, it's quite clear that Brexit now seems to be a busted flush, but it leaves us all in a very serious situation indeed. And the one option the Prime Minister didn't mention, which is mentioned to us in private before, is surely the government must now move quickly to revoke Article 50, as it's only 17 days, or face self-inflicted economic damage and calamity to all our traders and all our businesses. Surely the way to leave with a deal is to maintain the deal the UK has currently got and revoke Article 50. Can we see that before the House, Mr Speaker, as an option for MPs to vote on in the 17 days of seriousness we have in front of us now?
Well, the Honourable Gentleman chairs an important select committee in this place, the International Trade Select Committee. His brow was furrowed. He had a look of great seriousness, and I thought he was going to make a purely procedural point. But it is a partly procedural point, but it's also, if I may say so, a political point, to which the answer is that there will be an opportunity for an amendment to be tabled to any motion on the prospective extension of Article 50. So the opportunity is there for colleagues, and if an amendment is tabled and garners significant support, that would be a factor in the mind of the Chair in deciding whether to select it or not. But it is open to him to table such an amendment, and I've got a feeling that he will go beetling around the House in hot pursuit of colleagues who share his views on this matter. Point of order, Liz Saville-Roberts.
Thank you, Lagerhuis. I would note that the Prime Minister listed revocation, a different deal, or people's vote. I would seek his advice on how this House will ascertain those choices.
Yes, I think forgive me, I think the Honourable Lady has foxed me. Is the Honourable Lady seeking... I do apologise to the Honourable Lady, because I'm sure her point is an extremely good and clear one, but it wasn't clear to me immediately. Would she just put that question to me again? I'm not quite sure what she's seeking.
We have been presented with three options by the Prime Minister: revocation, a different deal, or people's vote. What I seek is clarity on how this House, which is being seen outside to be very good at disagreeing, will actually arrive at agreement on one of these points.
The answer is there are terms of debate, I say to the Honourable Lady, for tomorrow and for Thursday. That isn't necessarily the end of the debate. In fact, I think I can say with almost complete certainty that it won't be the end of the debates on these matters. It will, by the end of Thursday, I see the Chancellor chuckling, I think in agreement with that proposition, it will be the end of Thursday's debates and no more than that. So the answer to the Honourable Lady is that if members wish to test the will of the House on a variety of different options, there will be such an opportunity. This is a point that has been flagged up by the Father of the House, by the Honourable Lady for Bishop Auckland and others. If it is the will of colleagues that there should be such a series of votes, I think it almost certain that that opportunity will arise in the coming days or weeks. If there are no further points of order, I think we can now conveniently come to the business statement by the Leader of the House, Andrea Leadsom.
Mr. Speaker, with the leave of the House and further to my right honourable friend the Prime Minister's announcement, I should like to make a short business statement regarding the business for tomorrow and the remainder of this week. Wednesday the 13th of March, my right honourable friend the Chancellor will make his spring statement, followed by a debate on a motion relating to the UK's withdrawal from the European Union without a withdrawal agreement and a framework for the future relationship. Thursday the 14th of March, debate on a motion relating to the NICE appraisal process for treatments for rare diseases. The subject for this debate was determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 15th of March, we will sit for private members' bills. I will make a short business statement on Wednesday, should it be necessary, and I shall make a further business statement in the usual way on Thursday.
Thank you. Valerie Vaz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I thank the Leader of the House, but quite frankly, Mr. Speaker, I'm utterly astonished at this business statement. We still have no idea, despite the Prime Minister setting out what the next steps. We've had a vote, and now, as the Prime Minister herself said, we're now into an emergency business statement. Mr. Speaker, this is callous and incompetence from the government and a discourtesy to the House and a discourtesy to the country.
I think what the Leader is saying is that there would be a further business statement tomorrow. Presumably, the Right Honourable Lady means after tomorrow's debate and vote. Well, those points have been put on the record. I note what the Shadow Leader has said, and I'm happy to hear other points of order at this stage. Yes, indeed, I will come. Very well. Point of order, Mr. Peterbone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could the Leader of the House tell us whether there will be protected time for the debate tomorrow, considering that there is going to be an important statement first?
Forgive me, I want to facilitate the House. I think that's more... let's continue the exchanges on the business statement. That's really an inquiry, I think, for the benefit of the Leader, to which she can respond. The Leader.
The motion will be brought forward in the usual way, and it will be for the House to agree.
Thank you. Pete Wishart.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the House for that very brief business statement. There was no question whatsoever. There was no question whatsoever that the government could possibly renege on the Prime Minister's commitment to have these consecutive votes, so we very much welcome that. I was a bit more concerned about what the Prime Minister said about the motion tomorrow. There did seem to be just that little bit of wriggle room, just a little bit that I detected, that the government would still hope to proceed with a no-deal Brexit in the event of this House voting to stop it. Now, I need to hear from the Leader of the House tonight that they will bring forward legislation in good time for no deal to be taken off the table, and there will be no question whatsoever. If this is what the House decides, this is what the House will get. And this is what happened too often, Mr. Speaker, where we've had these debates, we've had these votes, just for this government to casually ignore it. Now, it's said tomorrow that will be a free vote. Again, I hope that will be extended to the vote on Article 50. We need to have protected time so that this could be properly considered by the House. No question whatsoever of the two votes being bundled into one, which was rumoured today. So can we have these rock-solid commitments? Because today, Mr. Speaker, this has been an absolute disaster. The chaotic cluelessness of this government's Brexit has been played out to the very, very end of these proceedings. We now need to get through the next 17 days with as much order, with as much respect to this House as possible, and that means respecting decisions. Will the Leader of the House do that in the next 2 days?
From the House.
Well, what I can say to the honourable gentleman is really just to repeat what my right honourable friend the Prime Minister said, which is that if the House votes to leave without a deal on the 29th of March, it will be the policy of the government to implement that decision. If the House declines to approve leaving without a deal on the 29th of March, the government will, following that vote, bring forward a motion on Thursday on whether Parliament wants to seek an extension to Article 50.
Thank you. I can just inform the House, if this is helpful, that I understand that the government's motion for tomorrow's debate has now been tabled. And colleagues thinking of tabling amendments or simply wanting to study the motion in the table office have the opportunity, if they wish, to do so. Tom Brake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think for the benefit of everyone in this chamber, it really would be extremely helpful if the Leader of the House would in fact confirm whether there is protected time available for this debate. We do not want it scrunched into a very, very short period of time. There may be urgent questions, there may be statements, and we may be left with perhaps a matter of minutes. What we don't want is a repeat, for instance, of last night, where we have a minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, coming to make a key statement at 10 o'clock at night, and we are then left with very little time before the following morning to assess the implications. So can we have a guarantee that protected time will be available? It's not an unreasonable demand. It is.
Well, as the honourable gentleman will know, a motion of this House is amendable, and it is for the House to agree the timetable for tomorrow's discussion.
Yvette Cooper.
Given that a meaningful vote has been defeated tonight, can the Minister confirm that that means that a motion will be tabled by the Government under Section 13(4) of the Withdrawal Act? And when will that motion be tabled? Can she confirm that that will be tabled next week and before the European Council?
What I can say to the Right Honourable Lady is that the Government will ensure its commitments under Section 13 of the European Union Withdrawal Act of 2018 and the order of the 4th of December are met.
Point of order. Angela Regal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the House has chosen to have an emergency business statement merely about tomorrow's business, when we know there are sequential changes to Thursday's business as well. And she hasn't made it quite clear, and I hope she'll be able to do so this evening, to the House, that if we should vote to take no deal off the agenda tomorrow in this motion, that there will be a change to the legislation, which obviously we know is not superseded by a motion this House has passed. We'd have to change the legislation which has the leaving date of 29th of March in it. Will she now take this opportunity to reassure all of us by getting to the dispatch box and telling us that if we vote to take no deal off the table tomorrow, she will immediately facilitate a change to legislation to ensure that that happens?
What I can say to the Honourable Lady is that if the House declines to approve leaving without a deal on the 29th of March, the Government will, following that vote, bring forward a motion on Thursday on whether Parliament wants to seek an extension to Article 50.
Well, that may not be, and I appreciate that's not the answer the Right Honourable Lady wants, but it's the answer she's getting tonight. But these matters, and I understand entirely where she's coming from, can all be explored in the days ahead, and I'm absolutely certain that they will be.